As a kid, I was addicted to fan wikis. I would spend hours at a time delving into the pages of these sites to learn more about my favorite franchises at the time. Whether that was Crash Bandicoot, Power Rangers, or the topic of this video, Sonic the Hedgehog. Before fandom made these wikis completely unusable, I was always fascinated by the info and trivia these sites had to offer about my favorite franchises, leading me to discover related media I had never heard of before. I mean, it's how I discovered there was a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles concert film, so clearly it was a net positive on my life. And today we'll be talking about one of my favorite discoveries from this chapter of my life, the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA. Originally released in 1996, the OVA came out in a very strange period for Sonic. While he dominated the first half of the 90s, Sonic, as well as Sega itself, started to go through a bit of a rough patch. The Sega CD and the 32X were failures, Sonic's next generation debut for the Sega Saturn, Sonic Extreme, was going through absolute development hell, and by this point the series had been outputting a lot of strange spin-off titles. They were doing whatever they could to keep the ship afloat. So in comes the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA. This was a co-production between Sega, General Entertainment, and the award for most generic company name goes to, and Studio Pierrot, who would go on to be incredibly successful in the next millennium, being right at the front of the anime boom of the 2000s, being behind shows like Naruto and Bleach. Not to dismiss their other 90s works like Ghost Stories. Huh? While not the franchise's first foray into animation, there had already been two decently popular cartoon series based on the games in the US, it's Sonic's official debut in anime form unless you include the Sonic CD cinematics, and it's arguably Sonic's first movie, although it's not really a movie, as it was initially released in Japan in two parts. The Texas-based company ADV Films picked up the license to dub the OVA into English as a tie-in with the newly released Sonic Adventure, stitching the two parts together and releasing it as Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, beating Paramount Pictures by a good 24 years. ADV might be most well known as the people behind the original English dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion.
I like having my balls kicked. Did you see my message? No, I didn't.
And I promise that'll be the only reference to Evangelion in this video. Anyways, with all that said, let's dive into the Sonic OVA. The movie starts on a strong note with a genuinely atmospheric scene, establishing our new villain, Metal Sonic. Dr. Robotnik admires his latest creation while dark, ambient music and cold, dissonant sound effects accompany the lifeless robot clone. This isn't one of his goofy badniks, although Robotnik does look a bit silly here, not quite Gendo Ikari levels of staring evilly with shiny glasses. This thing is a threat who, unfortunately, we won't be seeing for a while. We then cut to not Angel Island, more on that later, where Sonic and Tails are enjoying a nice relaxing day at the beach, and it's here we get our first taste of Sonic's voice in this film.
Tails is just like a little kid with his new toy.
Yeah, this is an odd one. So this is the one and only appearance of Martin Burke as the titular hedgehog, and it's strange. He's given Sonic an accent that seems to randomly switch between British and American.
I've got to stop Metal! Just don't show off so much that you forget to look where you're going! Oh, alright. Give me the scoop, Robotnik.
It's easily the most unique Sonic voice we've ever heard. For better or for worse. Of course it sounds weird to our modern ears because despite changing voice actors a couple of times, his voice has remained fairly consistent since Sonic Adventure. But even comparing this to Jaleel White's performance as Sonic in the Deke cartoons, it sticks out. It seems like even as early as 1993, we knew roughly what Sonic sounded like. It's certainly not a terrible voice, it's just an interesting one. We also have Tails, here voiced by Lainey Frazier, and no offense to the actress of course, but it really just sounds like Tails has a cold throughout the whole film.
Thank you, Robotnik.
Tails goes out on the water to test out what I assume is a jet-powered paddleboard, but things don't go quite as planned, giving us probably the second most famous line from the OVA.
Shut up, Tails!
Why do they make Sonic such a dick here?
You're the one who can fly, you do something!
While Sonic has always been portrayed as being snarky and cocky up to this point, he was never this much of a jerk. I get that he's annoyed that his relaxation was interrupted, but I'm sure Sonic would be happy to stop chillaxing for a second and make sure his friends are okay. Anyways, their beach day is rudely interrupted by a Tootsie Pop commercial.
Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Let's find out.
And it's here Sonic decides he can help, and we get some pretty good animation to go with it, saving Tails and a new character from crashing into a cliff. This is the creatively named Old Man Owl, an OVA original, and there's not all that much to say about him. He's your stereotypical cartoon old man, though I guess he's unique in that he has the Fujoshi glasses.
I realize I'm a little older now, but back in my day I was quite the racer.
I really thought he was about to say something else. He has come to alert Sonic and Tails that they are needed by the president.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
Well, I'd take him over most world leaders. Dr. Robotnik is holding the president and his daughter Sarah, who is a cat girl for some reason, hostage. Supposedly, Robotnik's been kicked out of his home, Robotropolis, by a Metal Robotnik who attacked with a horde of his own robots. He needs Sonic and Tails' help to defeat Metal Robotnik and stop the robot generator to prevent mass destruction upon their planet before sunrise, and oh my god, look at Tails! He's so goddamn cute, look at him! That's my boy! That's my son! Sonic is, unsurprisingly, reluctant to do anything Robotnik tells him, until seemingly springing into action when Sarah pleads with him to do it for the two of them. Who knew Sonic had the Fred Durst mindset? Sonic finally agrees to the mission, Robotnik then giving him and Tails tracking devices to find Robotropolis. The two then set off in the tornado.
Tails, do you actually trust that ridiculous little gadget that Robotnik built for you? He's not exactly trustworthy. He could have put a bomb for us in there.
Or worse, it could be a Tiger Wrist game. We cut back to Sky Parliament to find Robotnik and Sarah playing a fighting game. I thought catgirls were supposed to be good at fighting games. Finally, Sonic and Tails find the entrance to the Land of Darkness. God forbid they find Mickey Mouse in there. But not without some difficulties.
Wow, my head's spinning!
They crash land in Iron Lung and our heroes head onwards to find Robotropolis with some awesome fucking music to go along with it. I've neglected to mention it so far, but the soundtrack is really good. A lot of it taken from the house, techno, and hip-hop styles of the time, much like the soundtrack for Sonic CD. The animation here is also genuinely incredible and not too dissimilar to the animated cutscenes from CD. Despite this sequence being obvious padding, I completely forgive it as it gives the animator some time to shine and show Sonic doing Sonic things, when he's been fairly static for most of the runtime so far. Though it does get a little shaky once they start talking again. They jump through a warp zone and they end up in what appears to be an abandoned city.
I never knew that the Land of Darkness looked anything like this.
Psh, that's what everyone says when they come to Adelaide for the first time. The search for Robotropolis comes to a halt when they encounter Metal Robotnik.
That is correct. I am Metal Robotnik.
Thanks for confirming, man. Also, you look like a blanket draped over a pumpkin. He attacks the two, but they quickly devise a plan to defeat him.
Run away! Run away! Run away!
Also, Sonic does this. I don't know why they decided to make him flip the bird, but it's really fucking funny. Metal Robotnik continues to run after them before reaching a dead end. He then shoots them off the edge of the broken bridge. He really is trying to kill them, huh? The two survive by pulling a Mr. Incredible, but it's to no avail as he immediately starts blasting again.
What is this stuff?
Don't even think about it.
Say cheese!
Okay, so was it actually cheese? Because if so, that's a really strange choice of projectile to switch to when you were using bullets a minute ago. And if not, why does he say it as he's about to release goddamn missiles? It doesn't actually impact my opinion of the film, but I'm just a bit confused, is all? Despite the explosion, Sonic survives and rides the missile right into Metal Robotnik. But oh no, both Tails and Sonic are now stuck in the mysterious goop. But when all hope seems lost, Knuckles comes to save the day. The three team up and destroy Metal Robotnik, turning him into nothing but debris. Also, Knuckles can fly? It's fine, I'm fine, this is totally fine! It turns out that Robotnik was Metal Robotnik the whole time! What a twist! The 1996 song by Korn.
Thanks for saving us there, Knuckles.
Yeah, that's one more job I won't get paid for, but I've known you for a while, so I'll just put it on your tab, and you can pay me back later on.
How much debt do you think Sonic has? Knuckles here is voiced by Bill Wise, surprisingly enough one of two voice actors in this film to appear in the Texas Chainsaw series, with the other being Robotnik's voice actor Edwin Neal. It's certainly a different voice than we're used to for Knuckles, and honestly he sounds more like Sonic than the actual Sonic voice we got in the OVA. Also, most notably, Knuckles has a hat. I like it. So our heroes finally find Robotropolis, and we, the audience, find the greatest piece of music on this soundtrack, Look-alike. While the lyrics certainly aren't winning any awards, it's hard to deny how much of an earworm this song is. For years after I first watched this as a kid, it would still find a way to get lodged into the synapses of my brain. It's that good. The full 4-minute version of the song was uncovered in 2020 and I couldn't be happier. Team Sonic make their way to the robot generator, which also happens to double as a treadmill.
How do you think I maintain my perfectly round physique?
They manage to shut down the generator before the timer hits 0, and it's a trap. Who could have seen this coming? Turns out this was all a ploy to get the last thing Robotnik needed to bring Metal Sonic to life.
It's a robot that looks exactly like Sonic!
It came out of that sphere.
Yes, Knuckles, I'm watching the movie too. And just so you know this thing is evil, we have some devious laughter emanating from the void for good measure.
What is that?
Oh my god, it's Dr. Robotnik's most evil plan yet! Glitter! Not the microplastics.
Oh, I think it's the ghost of Metal Robotnik!
Do robots have ghosts in the Sonic universe? I don't want to know how many ghosts of past badniks there are. The withered Metal Robotnik rises from below, but it very quickly falls apart from the damage of their previous battle, revealing to our trio that it was Robotnik the whole time. And Sarah's there too, I guess. Robotnik reveals that the last thing he needed to complete Metal Sonic, or Hyper Metal Sonic as he's called here, was Sonic's life data. Promptly, Metal Sonic begins to beat the shit out of regular Sonic. A few things I want to point out about this scene. 1. We haven't seen Metal Sonic since the very beginning of the movie. We're just over the halfway point and this is the first we've seen him since the cold open. We never cut back to him throughout, which seems like a bit of a missed opportunity and makes his appearance seem a bit sudden with no real build-up. I imagine this was especially the case with its original release in Japan being in 2 separate parts and initially rental only. But then again, he is on the cover of the Part 2 VHS tape. But it really is strange to me that outside of the opening, he's barely referenced in the Part 1 portion of the OVA. Secondly, while Metal Sonic looks quite imposing in this scene, being shaded a completely different way from everyone else in the shot, some of the intimidation factor is lessened by the music. Rather than a dark, dramatic piece implying a threat to our hero, much like in the opening scene, it's this bouncy 90s New Jack Swing instrumental with synthesized horn blasts and all.
Tails, this should be apparent to you.
It's hard to take in the gravity of the situation when you're too busy busting a groove to the soundtrack. It's not like it ruins the moment entirely, but it does make it feel a little silly. And lastly, the following fight just feels so weightless, which is something you don't really want to hear describe a fight scene. While the point is that Sonic gets overpowered by Metal Sonic, everything feels so floaty. Anyways, Tails and Knuckles decide to make their way back to South Island for reinforcements while Robotnik flies off with Sarah. Sonic falls to his assumed death and Robotnik channels De La Soul. We cut back to South Island to see Old Man Owl sunbathing at night. I wear my sunglasses at night. Only to be approached by Metal Sonic.
Wait, what are you doing? Stop!
Oh my god, he's gonna make him play Sonic in the Secret Rings. Or kill him. I don't know which is worse. Sonic wakes up in a patch of grass confirming that he is not dead, and we cut back to Tails and Knuckles arriving at South Island to find it completely trashed, and Old Man Owl dressed like 90s vomit.
Those are Sonic's favorite clothes, so don't blame me if he gets mad at you.
Sonic has clothes? Robotnik and Sarah fly over to Land of the Sky. Oh yeah, I said I was gonna talk about that. So in the OVA, their version of Sonic's world is named Planet Freedom, not to be confused with Freedom Planet. And South Island is in the Land of the Sky, which floats above the Land of Darkness where Robotropolis is. Also, the Land of the Sky is supported by the North fucking Pole. Is Santa canon in this universe as well? A very unique interpretation of Sonic's world, unlike anything else depicted in the other Sonic cartoons, which usually just go for Earth but with anthro animals. I like it. It's fun seeing earlier interpretations of these things before the Sonic mythos was more solidified. Anyways, Tails modifies the tracker Robotnik gave him to track the location of Metal Sonic, determining that due to the shared life data, they should be able to locate Sonic as well.
Because Metal was programmed with all of Sonic's data. He knows everything. His likes, his dislikes, his personality, and all his thoughts.
The implication of Metal Sonic sharing all of Sonic's feelings and memories, and even his senses, is really interesting and also kinda fucked up. It really makes you wonder if Metal Sonic in this movie is actually sentient to a degree, feeling Sonic's pain when he gets hurt. While it's a bit much for me to expect of a cartoon that came out nearly 30 years ago, it would have been cool to see this concept be explored more. We actually get a glimpse of this at the end when Metal Sonic dies and has his only line of dialogue. He's developed the ability to think for himself and have emotions because he's built on the life data of Sonic. I love this interpretation of Metal Sonic, and if the games ever were to bring him back as an actual character and not a cameo, it'd be really cool to explore this concept. Apparently the life data is also why Old Man Owl is wearing these clothes, because they're Sonic's favorite. Why didn't Metal just wear them himself? I'm not gonna think about it anymore. The point is, I like Metal Sonic in this movie. The president sees footage of the destruction all across Planet Freedom and contacts the others. They tell him about Metal, and Knuckles explains that under the glaciers of the North Pole that hold up the land of the sky, there's a layer of magma, and if the ice were to be punctured, the entire planet would fucking explode. Robotnik really is just full-on evil in this one. He wants everyone dead. Everyone except Sarah, it seems.
Once Metal has destroyed the land of the sky, we'll be the only ones left. Then we can get married and live out the rest of our happy lives together, Sarah.
You see, if we're the only two left on the planet, she couldn't possibly reject me.
Because of the implication.
I can believe destroy the planet Robotnik, but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of wants to force a woman to marry him and have kids with him Robotnik. This isn't the feminist icon the Sonic Heroes manual told us about. We arrive at the North Pole for the final battle between Sonic and Metal.
What? This world isn't big enough for both of us and one of us has to go?
I kind of love having Metal Sonic speak in bleeps and bloops here. It's kind of adorable, honestly, and it points towards the fact that he's slowly gaining sentience, the ability to speak and communicate. The fight is on and we get the line we've all been waiting for.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you since I know everything you're going to do. Strange, isn't it? Yeah!
We also get a good view of Sonic's gums in case any dentists are watching. Robotnik and Sarah show up to watch before Sonic and Metal come crashing into their ship.
No! Don't look there, you pervert!
It's funny because... I guess it's not a real OVA unless it's weird about their female characters.
I get it. You're synchronizing yourself with Metal.
So does this mean when they're fighting, they're not only hurting each other, but also themselves? Jesus Christ, I mean, that goes kind of hard, but need I remind you, this is the same franchise as
Baldy nose hair!
The total disparity is wild. And again, Metal Sonic drowns in lava at the end of this. So does Sonic feel like his skin is melting? How far does the physical link go? Is this his own Lance of Longinus moment? Now with that thought in our heads, Sarah falls from Robotnik's ship, being saved by Knuckles, and then Robotnik just fucking shoots the tornado.
Yes!
He's way too happy about having potentially killed a child. Tails miraculously survives and collides with Knuckles and Sarah.
Tails, get off!
I'm so sorry.
I never thought you'd stoop that low.
It doesn't even look like Tails was holding onto her chest. Even Sarah seems confused. Metal chokes Sonic, which I think is the only time someone has been choked in this series, and Sarah starts wailing on Metal to get him to stop. And again, if the two are linked, then Sonic must be in an ungodly amount of pain right now. Tails manages to hack Metal somehow, leading him to let go of Sonic, giving him the opportunity to attack. The president, deciding he hasn't had enough screen time in this film, crash lands in the North Pole.
I think the door's stuck!
Door's stuck! Door's stuck! Please! I beg you!
Sonic and Tails head off to save the president as his ship catches on fire.
The president's timing couldn't be worse.
I can't believe I have to be a good person and save someone! A withered Metal blocks our hero's path and Robotnik orders him to attack Sonic, causing more destruction to the ice caps. Sonic kicks Metal like a football, dislodging the president's ship from the ice. And as Sonic lays one last blow on Metal, they crash into the cockpit of the ship, destroying it.
Mr. President!
They hit the Pentagon! Metal emerges from the explosion carrying the president and Old Man Al because I guess he was on the ship as well, but no one showed any concern for him. He drops them before getting hit with a piece of debris, knocking him down into the magma below. It's here we get easily the best character moment for both Sonic and Metal Sonic. Despite being a bit of a dick throughout the film, Sonic tries to save Metal from being engulfed in lava, despite being programmed to be his enemy. He can't just let him drown despite the protests of the others. He knows that Metal could be truly capable of good. At the last moment, Metal Sonic slaps Sonic's hand away, leading to his one and only line of dialogue in the movie.
There is only one Sonic.
He has finally achieved sentience, and with it, he sacrifices himself for the good of the planet. It's genuinely an emotional scene, and despite not showing up until the second half of the film, Metal Sonic, without really having any dialogue, manages to have a character arc, making him probably the most developed character in the movie. And it's honestly one of the greatest parts of the OVA. Robotnik shows up to gloat, not seeming to care about the death of his creation, unlike his own worst enemy, and then seemingly as a punishment for his own hubris, he's blown up by his own creation. And with Planet Freedom saved, our heroes run off to their next adventure. And that's the Sonic OVA. And despite its handful of problems, it's still a pretty fun time. It's easy to see why Sonic fans hold this film so close to heart. Its visual style is very aesthetically pleasing, even if the animation is lacking in places. The main cast all look great, Sonic's design especially. It takes a few cues from how Studio Junior drew him while making him a bit lankier, which fits his personality in the film and doesn't make him look ridiculous next to some of the new characters. I also really love the backgrounds throughout the film. There are some genuinely beautiful establishing shots. The pacing is definitely iffy, not helped by this being a two-part release smushed together. Metal Sonic was easily the best part of the whole story. There's a lot of interesting concepts and interpretations of the Sonic mythos in this movie that I would love to see explored more. Robotnik's portrayal as an outright villain who admits to trying to kill Sonic is incredibly interesting and unexpected, but honestly, I don't hate it. Could have done without his creepy obsession with Sarah though. The OVA is such an interesting part of the Sonic franchise. Its unique place in the series is probably why people think of it so fondly despite its flaws. I think if you're a fan of Sonic or at all interested in the history of the franchise, you owe it to yourself to watch this. It's easily accessible online. Sadly, there hasn't been an official release, physical or digital, since the 2004 DVD release because the rights have been in purgatory since ADV dissolved in 2009. Discotek Media attempted to license the film for a Blu-ray release, however, Sega was unable to find the proper paperwork related to the OVA's musical voice actors. This franchise seems to run into a lot of misplaced paperwork. God forbid we have another Ken Penders situation. And with that, I think it's time we head off for today. I've been Lily, and you've just heard me dilly-dally about the Sonic the Hedgehog OVA. Until next time. Wait, is the Land of Darkness meant to be our world?